Sonic the Hedgehog, an iconic story of a hyperactive blue hedgehog, or at least he used to be, capturing the hearts of young and old, one that has inspired many creators of so many different talents. I'm sure he needs no introduction, so let's get right into the art. I'm going to go in the order in which I drew them, so leading that off is Skulsa the Snake, a lovely character made by Amy_draws with a Z. Skulsa works for Eggman, usually going on missions looking for botniks in need of repair. She's considered selfish with a lack of compassion. She's quite calculated and tactical, yet quick to anger while being talented with black magic. There are some really solid ideas here. The first being that she's a snake, which is a really cool Sonic character idea I haven't really seen before now. Snakes, from my knowledge, really haven't been shown in the Sonic universe. So, my first idea is that snakes are one of the only Mobians that don't have arms or legs, making them die out as a species. Eggman, noticing this, thinks that they would be loyal soldiers, giving them robotic limbs in return of free labor, giving Skulsa a tie to Eggman, and it explains her knowledge of robotics. Some smaller implements I added are a pattern throughout the body, eyelashes, and cute little bangs. I originally gave her a robotic eye because of her scar, but it's a great example of subtracting elements for a more comprehensive design. While certain things could sound good on paper, when putting it to execution, it can end up cluttering the overall look. So I took it out for a more completed look. Next on our roster today is Hunter the Roboticized Hedgehog by Sonic Hunter 81. He is from a different universe. Eggman took him in as an enforcer before being forgot about after the events in Sonic Heroes, later being reactivated and being sold to a poor family in need. He lives out his days helping them, but longing to help those from his world. I like the groundwork here. I'd focus more on his home world and giving him a guilt of leaving them behind. Some physical appearance changes I made is instead of giving him a mouth, I gave him cute little mouth vents instead. I also included a more square design compared to Metal Sonic's sharper look. I also gave him lines on his eyes to indicate a monitor. And I couldn't have done this without J-Motion's help. I'm sure I've talked about him a lot before on this channel, but he's really great with robotics, and he's helped me a lot on this video, so you really should check him out if you haven't already. Keeping it going here is Red the Firefox, by none other but Red the Firefox. He's an impulsive, hot-headed Firefox that has the tendency to make dumb choices in battle. My first change would be making him a distant relative to Tails. And before you say it, yes, it can come across lazy to make your characters related to the main characters, but that's only if that's the only connection you make between them. Or, this is Sonic's long-lost brother, Bonic. He has Sonic's abilities, but he also has Shadow's abilities, and Silver's, you know? It's just lazy if you make it like that, but I think Red looks similar enough to Tails that they could pass as distant relatives without making it so it's like a complete ripoff of the character. I'd imagine that he'd be a distant older cousin that helps Tails figure out flying. There aren't many other flying foxes out there, so I imagine the two would naturally get along well. I noticed Red's colors reminds me a lot of Thanksgiving, so I tried to go with a more muted fall color palette. I also made him a little bit more fluffy and gave him patterns on his ears. This is a great example of color simplification. I'm sure as you can see in the original drawing, Red also had a blue in his color palette. I tried to incorporate it, but I concluded that I just couldn't make it work. Palettes usually work best within 4 or 5 colors to make it look concise. Next up, we got Eden the Seal. Hey, I have an Eden too, but he's just much more miserable. Anyway, Eden here is a princess of the Northern Kingdom, much like North Pole, but now she's on mainland Mobius due to Eggman destroying the climate of her home. She's introverted, loves skating, and is surprisingly a bad swimmer for being a seal. I agree, she is very cute. I added a tan color and stripes for a more sweater vibe, even on her gloves, and I added waves to her hair to resemble water. Eden's line work is a great example of onion skinning. The reason why I use bright reds and greens is to clearly be able to stack the lines and differentiate where they go. If you're having a hard time using layers in your drawings, I definitely suggest giving this method a try. I really hope I ended up doing her justice because she was probably one of my favorites submitted. Next up is Lilac the Hedgehog by Casino Park. She's shy, loving, and loves to make new friends. She's often compared to flowers. I'd focus more on her link to flowers. Maybe she makes flower crowns to meet new people, and maybe she smells just like roses. I really like how she was in the Sonic Rider style, so I tried my best to make her design to reflect that skater vibe, like giving her fingerless gloves. Some other changes I made is using more pink in her color palette, like instead of teal using pink, and adding pink on her gloves as well. Sonic Riders was actually pretty underrated, story-wise. I just hope that I did it justice through her. Next up is Moxie the Hedgehog. I feel like her and Lilac would get along pretty well. Moxie here was made by the lovely Alyssa Roach, a very talented artist who actually helped me on making this video by being generous enough to draw a character for the episode. So please check her out in the description below. Anywho, back on track. Moxie is a caring but cocky baker. She has abilities that stem through her emotions, especially anger. I'd focus on how her powers emotionally exhaust and take a toll on her. I actually kept her design pretty similar to the original, only giving her leg and arm warmers, and making her body a little chunkier to fit the more hedgehog look. She was a huge treat to draw. I really like her look. And last but never least is Flame the Chowling by a creator of the same name, drawn by Alyssa. Thank you again for your help, Alyssa, you are the best. He is a Chowling that is known to be helpful. He has a fire ability which he uses to shapeshift, really cool, to help win fights. I really like these ideas. Using fire to shapeshift is badass! I'd use it as a way to fight against King Chaos. Maybe a way to disguise himself as well? That way it's hard to keep track of what he looks like at the time. I really liked her addition of the flames to the shoes and how she drew his scarf. And with that, we draw our video to a close. Thank you everyone that gave me the honor to draw their characters. If you want to be in next week's video, my submissions never close, so you definitely still have the chance to be in it. Episodes I'm looking forward to doing in the future but need more submissions for are Homestuck, Undertale/Deltarune, Warrior Cats, Cookie Run, Transformers, My Little Pony, and D&D characters. And say your character doesn't fit in a specific fandom. Original characters are also always welcome. Some future other ideas I have are character sodas and popsicle versions of themselves. Link to my simple Google Doc is down below, along with anyone I mentioned or music I used. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay creative, my friends.